Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 2 days trip to Israel, and everyone is asking as to what are the reasons why he has gone to Israel. Uh, what we are told is that this visit is during this trip he is going to be addressing the Israeli Parliament, Knesset, sometimes in few hours. Prime Minister Modi is apparently the first Indian Prime Minister or the first Indian leader to address the Israeli Parliament. There is a strong chatter about a Hexagonal Alliance and how Iron Dome will meet Sudarshan Chakra. Now, is this visit about a new strategic and ideological reset between Israel and India? We'll discuss this at large. But before we begin the show, I want to show you the departure statement of Prime Minister Modi. And if that is ready, and if we can have that play out, Bharani, if you can just play that statement, if it is ready. The departure statement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Do we have that ready? Okay. All right. So we'll play that out. I think it's playing out because of some slow speed. Yeah. So this is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said when he was departing for Israel, that our nations share a robust and multifaceted strategic partnership. Ties have significantly strengthened in the last few years. I will be holding talks with PM Netanyahu in which we will discuss ways to strengthen cooperation across diverse fields. I will also meet President Isaac Herzog, President of Israel. This evening, I will be addressing the Israeli Parliament, Knesset. This is a tribute to the strong parliamentary and democratic ties that connect us. I will also interact with the Indian diaspora who have made a big contribution in strengthening the India-Israel friendship. So that is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said while he was departing for Israel. Now, there is a tweet which Priyanka Gandhi put out this morning, and I'm going to show you that as well. If you can have that play out, the tweet of Priyanka Gandhi. So here's what she said. I hope Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji mentions the genocide of thousands of innocent men, women, and children in Gaza while addressing the Knesset on his upcoming trip to Israel and demand justice for them. India has stood for what is right throughout our history as an independent nation. We must continue to show the light of truth, peace, and justice to the world. Now, if you have seen the State of the Union address by President Donald Trump this morning, he also mentioned about the war on Iran. And everyone is asking this question, that why did Prime Minister Modi choose to go to Israel at this point of time when there are dangers lurking around a war? This is what we are going to be discussing. And also this entire narrative about a hexagonal alliance, how Iron Dome will be meeting Sudarshan Chakra. That is what the mainstream media is largely discussing. So we'll try and understand as to where is this relationship between India and Israel headed to. Is it a strategic and an ideological convergence which the two countries are looking at? Joining me this evening is former diplomat KB Fabian. Thank you, sir, so much for joining. We have General Ashok Mehta, independent security analyst. Sir, thank you so much for joining. We have Dr. Shuddha Chaudhary, who is an international affairs expert, also who follows Israel very closely. And we have Pushpraj Deshpande, who is a policy expert, author, and also follows the foreign affairs in Congress very closely. Thank you so much, Pushpraj, for joining. And I'll begin with Ambassador Fabian because he said he has to leave in 10 minutes. So I'll shoot 2-3 questions to him. Ambassador Fabian, if you can hear me clearly, how do you see this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Israel? Yes, sir.
Well, it is an important visit for both India and Israel. At the same time, I have noticed a certain convolutedness from the commentators who try to exaggerate the importance of the visit. Mm-hmm. That is point number one. Now, in India, we say namaste. In Israel, they say shalom, peace, that is, peace be with you. So the question is Prime Minister Modi going to tell his host that any idea of having a war, limited or otherwise, with Iran will be dangerous and irresponsible, because it is very clear that should America attack Iran, Iran will retaliate in many ways, including at Israel and the GCC countries where American bases are. Now, that will be setting fire to an inflammable region. And for us in India, it will be very sad, because we also have 9 million of our people there. Now, we are not being selfish, because India wants peace in the region and elsewhere in the world. As Prime Minister Modi himself said, this is not an era of war. So let us see what Prime Minister Modi will tell his hosts and what his response will be. Secondly, it is important for Prime Minister Modi to tell his host that he has to respect Israel's obligations under international law in regard to Palestine. The annexation move, especially in regard to the West Bank, is morally and legally wrong. As you know, India initially hesitated and refused to join the condemnation when even 80 nations signed up.
Yes.
But as the numbers went up, India too signed up. So that is where it is. Let us see whether India will carry its message of Vasudevaiga Kudumbakam in a meaningful way. Now, as regards bilateral defense relationship, I do not want to go into details. All that I can say, those relations will be deepened and broadened. There is no doubt about it.
Right. But what about the questions which are doing the rounds, that should Prime Minister Modi have gone to Israel at this point of time? There is a large section which feels that Prime Minister Modi apparently should not have gone to Israel at this point of time. And why should he be seen with aggressors like Netanyahu? Ambassador Fabian.
Well, you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been insisting on his visiting India. And let us put it this way. Prime Minister Modi has a certain closeness with Israel, especially with Prime Minister Netanyahu. So after having visited Oman and also hosted a few Arab foreign ministers, India felt the need, or rather India thought those meetings had prepared the ground, so to say, for a visit to Israel. So I personally think he shouldn't have gone, but I can see the big picture why he went.
So, according to you, sir, what is the big picture you are looking at? And then I'll go to the other panelists. What is the big picture you look at the end of this 2 days visit? What is the big picture you can foresee? Yeah.
Are you asking me or other panelists?
Yes, sir. I'm asking you, Ambassador Fabian. Yes.
And a big picture is that both the leadership in India and Israel want to get closer and closer for reasons to do with defense relationship, which both are keen on. And Israel has other ideas for the region. You mentioned about the hexagonal relationship. You know that Somaliland has been recognized only by Israel. And Israel has plans to, that IMEC, India, Middle East, Europe corridor is not going to work out. So Israel is thinking of alternative. I don't know whether India will be able to cooperate in full measure.
All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador Fabian. You said that you would not be able to stay on for more than 10 minutes. So I let you go. Thank you very much once again. But
Thank
Ambassador
you.
Fabian, yes, sir. You're welcome, sir. Ambassador Fabian was talking about this hexagonal alliance. Now, what I want to talk about now is that on February 22nd, Netanyahu had spoken about this concept of a hexagonal alliance. I want to show you what exactly he said in that statement. There was a cabinet meeting in Israel, and he pointed out as to what this hexagonal alliance looks like. So if we have that code graphics ready, or what he said, what is the concept of a hexagonal alliance, and if we can play it out, and then I'll go to the other panelists. Uh, can we have that play out, please? The concept of hexagonal alliance. So here it's there on the screen. On 22nd of February, he said that in the vision I no, just go back to the other plate. I've just not started reading. Yes, in the vision I see before me, we will create an entire system, essentially a hexagon of alliances around or within the Middle East. And then he goes on to say, play out the next plate now. This includes India, Arab nations, African nations, Mediterranean nations like Greece and Cyprus, and nations in Asia that I won't detail at the moment. I will present this in an organized manner. This is what he said. And then he goes on to say that the intention here is to create an axis of nations that see eye to eye on the reality, challenges, and goals against the radical axis, both the radical Shia axis, which we have struck very hard, and the emerging radical Sunni axis. All of these nations share a different perception, and our cooperation can yield great results and, of course, ensure our resilience and our future. This is what Netanyahu said in a cabinet meeting on February 22nd. Dr. Shubda, I'm going to come to you now. What do you make of this hexagonal alliance? And is this also on the agenda while Prime Minister Modi visits Israel? Is he going to say yes to a hexagonal alliance? Are we sure that India is going to be part of it? And if yes, then how will countries like Russia, China, and even America going to respond to this alliance?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Now, the entire facade of the Hexagonal Alliance is something, or different kinds of facade that Netanyahu has been doing since the 1980s is nothing new. They don't really have any kind of grassroots legitimacy within Israel or within the Arab countries. He's the most hated figure. He's a war criminal in the ICC. He has arrest warrants against him. The point here is that we in India, I'm going to ask questions that one must think about as Indian, not as a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh or a Christian. As Indians, there are questions that we have to ask. The first is Netanyahu, who initially was supposedly going to visit India. We are not a member of the ICC. We have signed the Geneva Conventions. He can equally come openly to India. There's a very strong Mossad presence in Israeli lobby. A lot of Indian academics and journalists are going and taking photographs of Netanyahu. So why did Netanyahu not come to India? There was nothing barring him. Second, there is going to be an election in Israel in October 2026. Right now, most of the opposition leaders like Yair Lapid and others are saying that they'll boycott the Knesset speech of Prime Minister Modi because Netanyahu is not allowing the Supreme Court President and the Attorney General, the first woman Attorney General in the history of Israel, who are dealing with the corruption cases against Netanyahu, and there are 4 corruption cases. So they're going to boycott the Knesset speech of Modi. Now, the
Hmm.
point is, why did Netanyahu divulge openly? We didn't do it. Why did he divulge that Indian Prime Minister is coming to Israel? He did that in the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organization. This is an organization that was established in 1955. It is made up of 53 Jewish organizations. They have a direct line with the Republican Party in US. Second, why has the Indian government not said anything about the torture of Indian workers that has just happened in Ashkelon Park in Israel? We have 80,000 Indian Jews in Israel who are from Maharashtra, Manipur, Mizoram, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. We also have a lot of healthcare professionals. We have a lot of Indian students studying in Israeli universities. Why did no one take cognizance of the fact that the torture was done? My next question is, if we are talking about defense agreement, that Iron Beam and Iron Dome would be shared or even transferred, not even sold, transferred to India, what about our own legitimacy and sovereignty of Atmanirbhar Bharat? Why are we selling the entire sovereignty of our defense system when it comes to not getting the source code, not getting the entire mechanisms of upgrade? We don't know what source code France will give with the Rafale deal that has happened. The questions, therefore, are in 2017, when, and I will quote this, it is very important to see it in the context of Epstein files. In 2017, when Prime Minister Modi goes to Israel, it is through the brokerage of Anil Ambani. Anil Ambani has communication with Epstein. Beyond that, there's also from 2014 to 2017-19, when Sushma Swaraj was the head of MEA, this did not happen through diplomatic protocols. Anil Ambani was acting as a back channel. Now the question is, and I quote what Epstein said about India, it is hot, smells like shit, filthy. In 2014 email, I want nothing to do with India. What did the other colleagues of Epstein say? When you meet an Indian and a snake, you kill the Indian first. These are all revelations given by the Department of Justice by US. Now, Ambani is introduced to Epstein in 2017 via the Dubai Ports World Chairman Sultan Ahmed. Then there is this entire narrative that our Prime Minister goes to Israel and sings and dances. Is it something to be proud of? It is something to be proud of today that we are selling off our sovereignty to a country. There's a difference between Israelis and the Israeli war cabinet and the prime minister. I'm not equating both of them together. When in Tel Aviv itself, there is a long march of protest against Netanyahu happening just 2 weeks back, where people are fighting that Arabs' lives matter. And they are calling out for illegal annexation of West Bank. Why did India hesitate in calling it illegal? Why was there just when 7th October took place? Why did we have an immediate tweet from the Prime Minister of India saying that, yes, this is wrong? But on 12th of October, the Ministry of External Affairs, that has not designated Hamas as a terrorist organization, comes in the defense and gives a more balanced perspective. What kind of protocols are we following? That is the first question. The second question is, every time the question of Palestinians is raised, the Hindutva figures raise the question of Kashmiri Hindus. Now tell me, has RAW or Indian army created a genocide ever in Kishtwar? We just killed Saifullah. It took us more than a year-long mission. Did we kill everyone in Kishtwar? No, we did not. Did we cause massive civilian casualties in Jammu and Kashmir? We did not. So the question is that when Article 370 was abrogated, there was the entire pattern of right of return of Kashmiri Hindu Pandits, which is their right.
But allow me to interrupt you, but why do you think that the government is overlooking all these aspects? Why is the government sidestepping all of this or what you are mentioning? Because I'm sure they have understood, they've seen what Epstein files disclosures have been, and what all Jeffrey Epstein has written about 2017 Modi's trip to Israel. Why do you think the Prime Minister is still going ahead and meeting Netanyahu? There has to be a reason. What is that reason according to you?
Why is Trump openly saying that I do not want to hinder Modi's political career? He's a good man. I have things on him. Why is Trump saying that? Why? Who is the handler this time? Tell me who is, because I don't know if Ministry of External Affairs is doing the back channel after, because Epstein worked for Rothschild. Who is doing the communication? Why are we in such position that we are going to Israel when the 48-hour timeline is going to be broken? And then will India, when the Prime Minister speaks in the Knesset, will it condemn Israeli actions on Iran? Do we have the moral authority? The question is not if Israel is important to us. Israel is important to us, but the question is, what is the constitutional and legal aspects that we are taking into consideration? Who is the new Epstein now? Who is doing all the deals? Who are the new Indian businessmen who are doing the deals? When Adani got the Haifa port in Israel, a lot of Israeli workers, port workers, protested against him because he wanted to give voluntary retirement to them. None of the media channels focused on that. My question is that why are we just making such a huge overplay in 6 weeks? Like, we are signing the EU India free trade agreement, then the US India deal, which we know nothing about, if it is a deal or an intent or whatever it is. Everyone is just juggling the question. Then we also have the AI summit, which was a complete tokenism of what we are, because we are selling our data and we do not have any LLM as such, and a lot of AI founders lost their products. And then we suddenly have Netanyahu announcing that Prime Minister Modi is going to Israel. What is the difference? Trump keeps on announcing that, okay, there were 7 Rafale jets shot, there were 10 Rafale jets shot. Tomorrow he'll say there were 50 Rafale jets shot. We don't say anything. Why don't we say anything? What is Trump having on Modi? What is Netanyahu having on Modi? What is the espionage that is being done on India and the public that we don't know? What is the control of Mossad? Why are Indian academics going to Israel? Why are Indian journalists going to Israel and taking Netanyahu's autograph and flaunting it? Will they do the same with Hitler if he was alive?
Right. All right. Okay. So, Shubha, you've raised very significant points, and I want to come to Pushparaj now. Pushparaj, what are the crucial questions now in the backdrop of whatever we are seeing on the mainstream media? How people are, like what Shubha pointed out, that the journalists are over enthusiastic about clicking pictures of Netanyahu, Modi, but the fundamental questions still remain about the foundational basis of the relationship between India and Israel. And what is being made out is that it looks like a new reset completely between India and Israel. What do you have to say about this trip?
Good afternoon, Niluji, to you, our panelists, and our viewers. See, taking from what Dr. Chaudhary said on this Hexagonal Alliance, she was right in saying that one thing I wanted to add, that Greece and Cyprus, who are part of this alliance, are both ICC members, which today has an arrest warrant out for Prime Minister Netanyahu. Are these countries endorsing that arrest warrant, or are they getting out of the ICC? That's one part of it. And secondly, the alliance also talks about undisclosed Asian nations. Now, we don't know what undisclosed Asian, African, West Asian nations these are, but is Pakistan part of it? Now, given you don't have clarity on what kind of alliance you're getting into, and Prime Minister Modi is jumping into this, that's one part of it. The second thing is that war is about to break out. It's got the highest buildup of military hardware. The general would, of course, talk about that at length. But the highest military buildup since 2003, when the USA invaded Iraq. At this juncture, Prime Minister Modi is going to visit one of the nations, not both the nations. This is a nation, India, which has for the last 75 years had a Nehruvian consensus along with around non-alignment. This Prime Minister himself is claiming publicly that he is Vishwaguru. Whether you believe in non-alignment or ahimsa, or whether you call yourself Vishwaguru, either way, all of them mandate that you mediate and you call for peace. This is a country that has sent the largest number of peacekeepers to the United Nations. Instead of that, you are going to visit Netanyahu on the eve of a war. This is like visiting Hitler just before he invades Poland. You can't do this. I mean, this is completely not kosher. I'll give you two examples. Former Prime Minister Irfan Khan visited Russia to meet President Putin just before the Ukraine war broke out. He was widely and publicly and legitimately condemned globally. Similarly, Yasser Arafat also visited Saddam Hussein in Iraq When he invaded Kuwait, he was also widely condemned and critiqued. Both prime ministers, both leaders, their careers diminished after these two incidents. My point is, how can a sitting prime minister visit and through his visit legitimize a nation that is about to go for a war? This is coming from a nation which has traditionally been non-aligned. Now, the fact of the matter is that, as our previous panelists spoke about, both the Iron Dome and the Iron Beam, these may be necessary for national security. I don't want to comment on that. The general would shed better light on that. We must do whatever is necessary to maximize our defense preparedness. But I also know that defense preparedness has to be overlapped with foreign policy. We do have relationships with Iran, which has bailed us out with cheap oil, not in forex, but in rupees, and it has bailed us out time and again. We also have relationship with Qatar. We have strained relations with Turkey, but Lebanon, Syria. Now, the point is that you're basically sacrificing all of these bilateral ties simply because you want to have a relationship with Iran. Mind you, both Russia and China did naval exercises with Iran just a couple of weeks ago before this war as a signal. Now you're also going to piss them off. One needs to factor in the fact that China is also encroached upon our land, and you are now increasingly doing everything to needle China. They are also they supplied weapons and information, operational intelligence during operations to Pakistan. Why would you not balance these factors? Then the other thing is that Prime Minister Modi, when he goes there, it looks like a big PR. I mean, whatever they have tweeted out, it's like a big PR visit. He should, apart from what you said, what Priyanka Gandhi ji said.
Figures on the front page of Jerusalem Post today. In fact, I wanted to show that picture to the viewers also. And that is what Prime Minister Modi has tweeted. Barani, if you're there backstage and if you can have that picture play out. And yes, look at this. So Prime Minister Modi tweets it. It is indeed a historic visit to Israel. I'm confident will add new momentum to the bilateral friendship between the two nations. And this is what the Jerusalem Post front page looks like today. Yes, Pushpraj.
Yeah, so just three very small points before I stop. See, one has to separate Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Likud party that he represents and Israel. India believes in the two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. India wants to have good relationships with Israel. There is no doubt about it. But that does not mean that you go to basically prop up a sitting prime minister who's going into elections in September and is favored to lose just because, and basically legitimize a ill-timed, ill-advised war to prop up his sagging popularity. This is exactly what Prime Minister Modi is doing. And he's doing this because he, along with the Likud party, along with President Trump's MAGA, is part of this international right-wing ideological axis. There are all these right-wing populist autocrats who work together. This is him. The Prime Minister is compromising India's national security. He's compromising our foreign policy interests. He's compromising our national interest simply to prop up a right-wing authoritarian leader who is his friend. That is one part of it. And the second part of it, what Priyanka Gandhi said about the Palestine, what is happening in Gaza is perfectly legitimate. Because we believe in a two-state solution, we must raise that issue in Israel with Prime Minister Netanyahu. But I want to come closer. Our Indian workers are getting beaten up in Israel. Now, this government has made a huge hue and cry about Hindus and other Indians getting beaten up in Bangladesh. Why is this Prime Minister and the BJP government's ecosystem not going overboard and attacking the Israeli Prime Minister and the Israeli government for and mind you, I checked the names, they're all Hindus. Why are they? This is not a Muslim worker. Why is this government not taking it for the only reason I flag this Hindu thing is because this government is selectively selective about who it endorses. Right. I would personally say that if it's an Indian, irrespective of caste, creed, region, we stand for them because we are Indians firstly and lastly. But why is this government not speaking for Indians? He should be actually pulling up Prime Minister Netanyahu and saying, why are our Indians not getting protected when they are in Israel? Instead of that, you're going on a sort of, I mean, I'm sorry, this is like exactly like that pleasure trip that he did with President G when he came and sat on the swing. This is exactly like that. You're doing a PR exercise to prop up your failing and flailing leader because he's part of this right-wing axis, ignoring the huge cost to India. strategic national foreign policy, as well as to our citizens. And I'm sorry, but this is the last thing I'm going to say. We found out about this trip from the Prime Minister of Israel. He announced this 2 days before our ME ever made a statement. What is this government doing? Are we going to get information about what our Prime Minister and our government does from third parties? The same thing
Right.
happened with the university. President Trump tweeted about it. Then we found out. He doesn't forget about briefing the nation. He doesn't even tell the parliament. What
Right.
kind of government are we? I mean, what kind of ramshackle government is Prime Minister Modi running? Is this a
Right.
government is this a government of, by, and for Indians or for other people outside India?
All right, so those are relevant questions, but these pictures which you are seeing being play out right now is, of course, the ceremonial red carpet welcome which has been given to the Prime Minister Modi. And after a meeting with Netanyahu at the airport, Prime Minister Modi is going to be addressing the Israeli parliament, becoming the first Indian Prime Minister to have the honor. Now, I'll come back to General Mehta. These are the visuals playing out live where you can see Benjamin Netanyahu. I also saw in one of the clips S. Shankar being there, Prime Minister Modi, and Netanyahu's wife as well. So, General Mehta, coming to you now, and this whole thing about the Iron Dome and Sudarshan Chakra coming together. And a lot is being said about the fact that Israel has offered India a full technology transfer of its most classified air defense systems, which include the missile-based Iron Dome and the cutting-edge iron beam laser. Now, this high-stakes proposal comes, of course, just ahead of this visit, and that's what the mainstream media has been writing about. How do you see this Iron Dome technology being given to India? There's, of course, a classified air defense system, but now India has access to it. Do you think that India stands at an advantage with this technology?
First of all, I must say that I am in almost total agreement with the criticality and condemnation of India's so-called strategic autonomy and its foreign policy, its defense policy, and especially its relations, how they have transformed with Israel, because I had visited Israel. I know Israel from 1990, and I have visited that country 20 times, if not more. And I accompanied Foreign Minister Jaswant Singh when he first went in 1994, I think. I may be mixing up the year. And when India, for the first time, indicated or voted wholeheartedly for the Israelis in deference to its requirements of counter-terrorism and its requirement of defense technology. And Jaswant Singh, by giving preference to the Israelis over the Palestinians, although he did visit the Palestinian Authority at that time. That's the first point I want to make, that I have known that country extremely well, but and written a lot about it. The second thing I want to, before I answer your question, is also to indicate that I know the defense industry and the counter-terrorism theories and doctrines of Israel, because I have been an invitee to the ICT, the International Counterterrorism Institute in Herzliya. And I have been invited to every conference from 2011 till the conferences stopped in just because of COVID. And then I was a great admirer of of the Israelis. How they were dealing with Hamas, how they were dealing with Hezbollah, how they were dealing with Iran. And, like India, we said that we were surrounded on one side by states that were hostile to us, meaning Pakistan, and at a time when Bangladesh was also not favorable to us. So I am a transformed man now, because I think what your panelists have said, I don't need to repeat. This whole categorization of Israel from fighting what the kind of legitimate wars to completely illegitimate, and against total morality, if there is such a thing of morality in war. So it's a transformed state, and for India to keep its relationship not balanced but swinging completely towards Israel at this time is something that is completely incomprehensible to me. But then I think about it, and it's essentially defense technology that we have got from Israel, both in terms of the aircraft industry, the Rafale, as well as in terms of the air defense systems. And we have, I think, the big question that nobody has been able to answer is why has Prime Minister Modi visited Israel now, 24-hour visit in the midst of a likely war, which with the largest American armada concentrated in the region, and Israel will join at the drop of a hat.
Right.
And,
So
and we have given Indian advisories for Indians to come back.
right.
And against those
And our Prime
advisories,
Minister is
the
going
Indian
there.
Prime Minister is going there.
Yeah.
Now, as regards the defense technology, the Israelis will not give you, as I think Dr. Chaudhary said, Israelis won't give you complete 100% transfer of technology. The only time they gave us technology was Green Pine technology with the Arrow system. From there, Arrow 2, Arrow 3, Arrow 4. And by the way, I have seen the Iron Dome system operate when we were taken on a field trip during my visits too. So, Sudarshan Chakra is not a one grand system. No, there's no such thing as Sudarshan Chakra. Our media has called it Sudarshan. It's an integration of layered air defense systems from Akash to S-400, exactly like the Arrow, the Iron Beam, the Iron Dome, and the David Sling that the Israelis had. So there is no such thing as Sudarshan Chakra. That is one system that we are going to make. And second, Israel is a small country. We are talking about air defense system for the state of Delhi and the size of Delhi, even and where can India get a defense system equal to the what
All right.
what the Trump is advocating? So it's going to be very tough for the
Right. So, Jaran Mehta, you are saying that it's going to be tough for India, but what I'm reading everywhere, Dr. Shubha, I'll come to you now for the concluding comments. That this looks like a massive win for India. That's what most of the mainstream media is saying, that this technology is a game changer because it solves the economics of attrition and the financial trap of using expensive missiles to hit cheap drones. That is how it's being projected. Dr. Shubda.
Neeluji, look, Israel has been a war machine involved in seven front war for the past, since 7th of October 2023. What is the guarantee that the supply chain will be given first to India and not to its own economy when they start bombarding Iran? The second question is, I got 11 Indians safely from Palestine crossing 3 borders in one day, and I know what exact anxiety, paranoia, and the kind of surveillance that operates. I have had many documents missing from my phone at the checkpoints. I have seen how Palestinians are treated. It is beyond treating inhumanizing. It's beyond inhumanizing or othering. Also, it is indefensible. It is indefensible that if a country is doing a genocide, half of the time there's a debate on genocide, but just as there's a debate whether Epstein was with underage women or underage children, that itself is very toxic. When they were eating newborn kids, that itself is very toxic. But the point is that we are less willing to hold Israel accountable. Netanyahu announcing it in American Jewish Conference is a breach of diplomatic protocol that has to be taken into account. The entire idea, when on March 16, 2017, Anil Ambani sent a message to Epstein, and I quote, leadership was asking for his assistance in connecting with senior figures in Trump's orbit, Jared Kushner and Steve Bannon. Whom are we now trying to connect in Trump's inner orbit now with the facade of the PR? Everything that the foreign policy of India right now is doing is a PR stunt. And as our co-panelist said, Israel is not bigger than Delhi NCR. Israel adding West Bank and Gaza is not bigger than Delhi NCR. What kind of Iron Dome David Zaro sling is going to help India, which is like 10 times bigger? Iran is more than Iraq plus Syria in size. So the point here is that why is there no accountability? Why can't we ask questions? Why is our Ministry of External Affairs silent? Why is there a cognitive dissonance between the PMO's cabinet and the Ministry of External Affairs, that on kinds of tweeting and our two-state solution is a facade? It has been a facade because of the Clinton and Epstein connection. Why there's no connection, and why there's no connection about Ambani and Hardeep Singh Puri? Why can he just give a press conference outside the house and that is it? I mean, Epstein, along with being a sexual predator, was also an intelligence broker. I understand it, but are we not accountable? And when his own daughter is now involved in the cryptocurrency and many other deals, why is the government not taking action? My question is this: why can't we ask questions? Why do we, when we ask questions, why are we put into the brackets of anti-Hindu or anti-India, just as Israel does that? If you question it, you're an anti-Semite. But Semitism is something which is about language. Arabs are Semite too. So speaking about Arabs is also anti-Semitism. So the point here is that why are we becoming an ostrich and closing our ears and our eyes when we see that the world right now is completely safeguarding, not all countries, but most of them are safeguarding the Epstein collaborators? And why are we not questioning it? And who is the handler for this time's visit? What does Netanyahu have on Modi that he can order him and Modi ji will go? What does Trump have on Modi that he can speak anything about our Indian army and Rafale jets, and we are just silent? What kind of diplomacy is this?
No, so that brings us to the question, and I'm going to take the concluding comments from Pushparaj and General Mehta. Pushparaj, to you first. That what looks like that we are capitulating before Trump. Now, is it another capitulation before Benjamin Netanyahu?
Neeluji, I want to refer you to Prime Minister Nehru's intervention in the Constituent Assembly on March 8, 1948. In the reply to the demand for grants for external affairs, Prime Minister Nehru said that if India or any nation outsources its, I mean, of course, paraphrasing, outsources its foreign policy to another nation, you can no longer call yourself independent. And then he went on to say that my government, and this is a normative stance that every government since independence, including Prime Minister Vajpayee, including Dr. Manmohan Singh's government, every government across bipartisan party lines, except this government led by Prime Minister Modi, has upheld that principle. And like Prime Minister Nehru said, they have also upheld the principle that if any nation interferes in our sovereign policy making and our strategic decision making, we will resist it with every means possible, including military means. This is what Prime Minister Nehru said. Now look at what is happening today. What Dr. Chaudhary said is absolutely valid. Where is External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar? I mean, major decisions are being taken with that are going to upend 75 years of foreign policy consensus that India has abided by, and the External Affairs Minister is nowhere on the scene. Not a tweet from him, not a statement from him. He's nowhere along with Prime Minister Modi. What is the media also doing? I mean, there is a media. I don't want to take names, but there are journalists from numerous other media houses, mainstream media, electronic media houses, who are talking about, who have, I can show this to you if it didn't name that journalist. They're talking about what Prime Minister Modi will be eating and what plates he'll be using when he's in Israel. I mean, what is going on? The kind of control like Prime Minister Modi and the BJP ecosystem have on our ecosystem is tremendous. But are you going to completely ignore the real economic, geopolitical, and strategic cost to India? And simply because you have I don't know what they have on Prime Minister Modi, whether it could be the Epstein files, whether it is something, the charge sheet on one of his crony capitalists in the United States. It could be n number of things, but the issue is that there are this particular sequence of events, him outsourcing foreign policy and geopolitics and economic security and energy security issues to first President Trump, then now Prime Minister Netanyahu, tantamounts to sacrificing our national interests. And these are serious questions that they need to be held accountable for in Parliament. You cannot be, Parliament session will begin on 9th March. This government should actually, if it is really interested in safeguarding India's national interest, needs to have a serious discussion on whether we have abandoned non-alignment and whether we are compromising our interests with our bilateral relationships with Iran, Turkey, Qatar, and other nations, simply because Prime Minister Modi wants to prop up a flailing Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is going to inevitably lose in September. These are questions that Prime Minister Modi and his government need to answer. I don't think the External Affairs Minister is anywhere on the scene. So I don't think this really is, this question can be directed to him. But someone needs to be talking about this very seriously.
Right. All right. I'll take the concluding comments from Jeremy. What would you really say? And a lot is being said about this visit by Mr. Modi to Israel. Yes, sir. Very briefly. Yes.
It seems to me that this visit is largely at the direction of the Americans, of President Trump, that to show that the great peacemaker, the era of peace here is now in Israel. It'll help Netanyahu in his elections. It will help Netanyahu in his domestic. After all, the opposition in Israel is opposing the visit and are going to boycott the Knesset speech by Modi. So therefore, the timing is only because of what the Americans have said to help Netanyahu and to show that India, we can get India to do. So India has lost its strategic autonomy, as others have said. And as far as getting any defense technology on the Iron Beam, I think we are making our own laser beam technology. So I do not know how the media is relating this visit to defense technology. What happens to Atmanirbharta, which is the great PM Modi's champion all the time. So I think it's got nothing to do with that. It's purely a political visit at the behest of President Donald Trump.
All right, so we'll have to wait and watch how this visit unfolds, what Prime Minister Modi says when he addresses the Knesset. We'll have to wait and watch. Thank you so much, General Mehta, for joining on the Federal. Thank you.